We're back.
We're back.
Good morning. Excuse me. It's just some madness and messages. What did we decide? Messages and madness or madness?
I don't know. Just whatever hits us on
It's
any
both
given
those
day.
things.
But it's both of those. Madness and messages. And sometimes we may hit you with the messages first.
Yes. So we were just talking and chatting a little bit about organizational culture. I know when I first started in my doctoral program, that was one of the first classes that we had. We talked about organizational culture and, how understanding your culture really helps you be successful in your institution or your organization. And it also helps you to help your organization grow and become successful or more successful. And one of the things that I know or that I've learned is that, a person can tell what type of culture your organization
and when we say culture, we're not talking about ethnicity. We're not talking about that kind of thing. We're talking about the business norms. What is it that everyone understands is the normal way of operating or doing business or carrying themselves around others and around outside stakeholders.
Right.
It's about beliefs. It's about, all of those things that are understood. It may be written down. In some cases, it may be written down, but it's just the norm for everybody in that group, that organization.
Right. And you can tell, from the door, from the moment you step in the door of any type of organization, any type of business, within the first 5-10 minutes, you have a very good sense of what the culture is in most cases. Now, I don't know about you guys. I live in Texas. We live in Texas, and there's this place called Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
It's like this little rest stop, when I first started traveling for work, everybody was, you gotta stop at Buc-ee's. I'm like, really? Really? It's a gas station. They're like, no, you have to stop at Buc-ee's. It's just amazing. And so I stopped at the gas station to get me some gas. And I went inside because I now need to know, I need to be a part of this excitement. And the moment is Buc-ee's. And the moment I walked in the door, I knew what that culture was about. They were really big on customer care. They were really big on appearance,
clean restrooms,
cleanliness. The restrooms were literally cleaner than mine.
And they offer you individual personal space. Love that.
Right. The personal space should not congested. It's not crowded. It is. You just know. And if you live in Texas, you know what I'm talking about. So when she's defining, culture, that when you go back into Buc-ee's, it'll click.
So sometimes there's organizational culture that it may be the norm, but if you're a new person coming into the organization, you might not be aware of all the cultural norms. You got to learn them. You got to acclimate to them. So I give you an example that I had to get used to because coming into my current work environment, email. So when you email someone, 9 times out of 10, if that person knows your name, they're going to open up your email, they're going to read it, and if it calls for some action or response, they're going to respond.
Right.
If you're asking them to attend a meeting or inviting them to a meeting or, whatever it is, I was used to getting responses. And when I came into this environment, I would send emails, and depending on who I sent that email to, it may get ignored. Somehow it flew out of their email into some virtual space somewhere. And what I didn't know about this cultural norm is that depending on who you talk to, if you don't CC the right people,
you won't get your email.
You won't get a response. And I just, I'm still struggling to understand that because we're all professional and we're all adults and we should be able to have conversations with each other, and whether or not we can provide whatever it is that they're asking for, at least respond.
Right. And that was one of the things that I learned in one of my first careers that, they weren't playing. If you didn't respond to an email within 24 hours, yeah, they're in your office.
No matter who it was from?
They don't care if it was from the janitor. This was a flat organization. They didn't play that. Like, everyone were stakeholders, and everyone should have the same level of, respect in terms of their emails. My VP, my CEO, myself, my colleague, you had 24 hours to respond to it. Now, what was happening was that, people would be concerned because because they're like, well, every email doesn't need to be responded to. Maybe it was just informational. So we created a new process that said, in the subject line, we needed to say, this needs to be responded to, or, this is just information.
Some people don't even put information in a subject line. And I think that's the craziest thing.
Yeah. Especially when your email program says, or did you forget to put something in the subject line before you hit send? It's warning you.
Give me the courtesy of at least understanding what it is that you're sending me a message about.
Yes, and if you need immediate attention, I mean, even in our Outlook, it has a little red exclamation and let you know this is an emergency. This needs immediate attention. Or I need you to read this immediately and take action. Or I just want you to review it. No action is needed, or whatever. But that was some of the processes that was put in place, conventions that was put in place that will eliminate us from spending too much time opening up emails that really we were just CC'd in for FYI. We didn't really need to respond.
Right.
But the bottom line is you had 24 hours.
Because there may be some people too who don't understand that if you send an email, it's going to a person or maybe to a group. So in the to line, you need to put all of those people's names. Now, if there are some people you just want to be able to keep in the loop, then they belong in the CC. You don't send a message to someone and put their name in the CC. Because when I see an email, first thing I look at, of course, is the subject line.
But if I was the primary contact,
Yeah, and then when I open it up, I look to see, did they send it directly to me or are they sending it to me from my reference?
Right. And on the flip side of that, if you're behind with CC, you don't need to be responding to everything. Just chill. Look and see what's going on here.
Pick up the phone sometime. Knock on a door. Or just respond to that one person. Don't clog up everybody's email inbox because you've been CC'd on something.
We got an email from the institution that was reminding like 2,000 people, don't forget to do this training. And instead of the person who, wanted to tell the person that sent the email, I've already taken the training. Oh, they replied all 2,000. I don't even know this person. Like, don't reply all. So, but it's about culture and understanding your culture and understanding how you do business. And the problem is if you don't get it, or if you get it and you ignore it, it causes a lot of friction at work.
Yes, it does.
It ought to really takes you time to just sit down and really think about what's working and what's not working. Even in certain cultures, like when people leave their, we talked about this before, people don't leave their jobs, they leave their bosses, right? And sometimes it's because you perpetuate this negative culture. And so what happens is that they leave and they don't even really honestly tell you why they leave.
It's like, oh, I have a better opportunity. I'm gonna go over here because they're allowing me to do some things that I wouldn't have been able to do here. When in reality, it's like I just couldn't stand working with these people.
You cannot satisfy my needs anymore. Being honest, because once you leave, the culture continues, because now no one knows the truth of why you left. No one really, really understands the truth. Instead they're, we leave. Oh, it's normal. We're losing people because, of course, our competing organization pays them more. There's nothing that we can do about that.
That's the obvious, but I bet you if you scratch under the surface, you might find some very revealing things. And unfortunately, when you scratch under the surface, some of those revealing things might be a reflection on you.
Absolutely. And the thing about it is, how many of you guys, raise your hand, I'm watching. So how many of you guys out there, before I even said anything, but have had colleagues that you work with and had great relationships, just wonderful relationships, awesome situation. They contributed to so much in the organization, but they left because they were unhappy, and 2 months later it's as if they never existed.
Yep.
Like, dude, she existed. Like, she or he contributed, but no one wants to talk about it because no one sits down after an employee leaves and say, why did they leave? What could we have done different? What could we? It never happens that way. And this situation, our colleagues leaving and acting like they never even exist, that happens all the time, and it's disheartening because the contributions, and you got to hold up the history. You got to remind new people that come in, hey, when Danielle used to work here, she used to rock the house. Your boss ain't gonna tell you. Let me tell you, but it's endemic in a culture that needs to be dealt with. And
so know your culture. Know, especially if you're a new employee coming into a new work situation, get to know and understand the culture. Don't be so quick to try to change things. Observe first, because that will impede your change if you really don't understand the cultural norms that you're dealing with. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway from today. That's the message.
That's
for
the
today.
message.
In the middle of the madness, there's always a message.
So make sure that if you know your culture or you're still struggling to understand the culture that you're in, give us some comments down below, and like and share our video, because we want to hear from you.
And subscribe. We keep forgetting to tell you, please subscribe. We try to upload videos at least twice a week. And if there's something that you think we should do differently, a different style, different format, whatever it is, we're willing to, try to make the adjustments so that we can give you something you enjoy watching. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good morning. Be safe out there.